tear open our driveway to pour concrete? Fine, you'll probably enjoy having to dig the concrete out of the ground. Twice. Not about me, but about a guy I used to work with. He was a mountain of a guy, a huge Turk, but the kindest guy I ever met. He'd do anything for people he liked. Nobody ever saw anybody get on this bad side until that fateful day. As it happens, he was also our delivery driver, and he spent most days on the road in his semi, leaving before dawn and returning quite late, if at all, that day. Our warehouse had a driveway large enough for him to pull the semi into, and load/unload. The supermarket next door decided to do some renovations, and expand. When they started construction, they started tearing out their brick parking lot, and getting close to tearing out our driveway. Boss runs out, tells them where our property line is, and is assured they won't cross onto our property. Everybody goes back inside, nobody worries, until there's suddenly a raging bear Turk standing in the break room, shouting about how the driveway has been torn up and he can't get his lorry in. We go out, and indeed, the driveway is half missing, and there's a concrete building foundation poured in. Construction workers are nowhere in sight. Boss sends the supermarket manager an email message, and everybody goes home. Next day we arrive to the site of very angry construction workers. Apparently, the delivery driver went back in the middle of the night with some bolt cutters, liberated about 30 of their shopping carts, and stuck them into the drying concrete in various comical positions. Overnight, the concrete hardened, and the carts became quite difficult to remove. Construction crew brings in the jackhammers, and 4 days later, most of the concrete is gone, and they start preparing for another pour, this time leaving our driveway intact. Foundation comes out fine, everything is looking good. At that time, my boss shows up with the announcement that he had a survey done, and while they didn't tear open our driveway the second time, they were still closer to our property line than allowed, and he'd already filed a complaint to get the concrete removed. Took them another week of jackhammering to get it out. TLDR, construction crew tore open our driveway and poured concrete on our property. Gave them a physical reason to dig it out one time, and a legal reason to dig it out a second time. Now to the comments. This story reminds me of a buddy I once had. He was a landscaper and one of his clients wanted him to build a pergola in their yard. No problem, he says. So he goes about drawing up plans, talking with the city, etc. Construction starts where things had been approved and the neighbor comes out and complains that it's too close to the property line and everything must stop and be ripped out. Now the neighbor wasn't nice about this and was being a total asshat about the situation, completely unreasonable and unwilling to compromise in any way. So my buddy has the land surveyed, and what do you know? The property line is actually a few feet over, towards the neighbor's house, meaning not only was everything okay to continue, but an addition the neighbor had put up actually crossed the property line and came into the client's yard. Well, I'm sure you can see where this went. Mr. Unreasonable now had part of his house that wasn't on his own property, and remember, what goes around is all around. Very quickly he became the nicest guy anybody had ever seen, but it was too late. He was forced to rip down the addition that had been built all those years ago. I would have been tempted to ask for back rent rather than knocking it down. Not sure you can do that. You could have them purchase an easement on your property for it, maybe, not sure how that works with permanent structures, but then you've got an encumbrance on your property. I don't know about that. Concrete takes time to cure, yes. But being able to stick shopping carts into the cement after the workers left sounds a bit sketch. Also, if they had already poured a foundation, they would have been on your side of the property for a while. Surely someone would have noticed the issue. I'm not trying to troll, it just seems that this story is a bit far-fetched. It's certainly far-fetched. Concrete gains its early strength too fast to be sticking shopping carts into it later on. How wide was this foundation wall that shopping carts could be stuck into it in various comical positions, even if it was possible to embed shopping carts in a pour at least a couple hours after the fact? And 30 of them? They excavated, prepared and compacted the base, formed out and poured a wall long enough and thick enough that you could randomly stick 30 carts into it in a couple of hours. Plus, I guess the builder forgot about rebar like he forgot about having a survey done. God have mercy on your soul if the boss finds out you left 100 feet of rebar out the foundation, lol. Yikes. Unfortunately, it's likely that this wasn't even the construction worker's error. It sounds like more of an architect error. Locating a building/addition is part of the architect's job. The construction workers can only build what's on the approved drawing. The cost of the removal of the second foundation and relocating it would have come out of the architect's pocket. Also, the crew out there jackhammering would have reported the cuts as vandalism to their insurance company, and the labor would have been covered by that. If this was revenge on the architect and insurance company, good job. If it was meant for the construction company, let me assure you they were paid in full for their work. Edit for words. They did get paid. But that doesn't mean it wasn't a huge pain in the ass for them. They have a deadline they want to meet and other obligations. I bet they were pretty pissed about having to do the work multiple times and delay other jobs. I know absolutely nothing about buildings specifications, but I know that this is a 100% made up a lot of bullshit. Come on OP, how long do you think it takes concrete to dry? Get the duck out of here with this nonsense. I'm a bridge and reinforced concrete inspector. I've tested concrete and monitored placements on multiple billion-dollar infrastructure projects. I'm at work right now on a $100+ million interstate bridge project. And this sounds like total bullshit. For the finishers to pour a slab and leave, it's dang near set up. The only reason it wouldn't be, is if they were using a retarder, which nobody does on slabs on grade. Even a high-range water reducer wouldn't delay initial long enough to comically place shopping carts hours after completing placement. Cooler temps, you still wouldn't get that much delay. At most, you'd get a couple very small footprints in it after 3 to 4 hours from batch time. Learned the hard way 12 years ago about walking on fresh slabs without sliders to install maturity meters. This is just pure bullshit. Pics, or r/that happened. Yay, it is absolute BS. Most slabs are set enough in a couple of hours that you aren't embedding shit into them. Retarders are usually only used in hot weather to buy the finishers a bit more time, since concrete cures faster, but ultimately weaker, at high temps. They are used in slabs, but generally only when the ambient is over 90°F and the specs call for super flat in my experience. And high-range water reducers, super plasticizers get you almost no time. Maybe half an hour to an hour. I've tested concrete with a HRWR that was starting to set before I could finish my cylinders. It was an 8,000 pounds per square inch mix. But still. HRWRs are basically for when you have tight forms or pumped lightweight and you need high plasticity during placement. They don't delay set time much. If you are pushing anything into concrete several hours after placement, it wasn't going to cure anyway. I've also never had a job that crossed the property line to this extent. I've had a few take down trees or park equipment just outside the lot. That was because they didn't care though. But to put a building foundation off their property would require some massive ducks-ups at many levels. Especially in a situation like this. I have a wee bit over 15 years testing concrete, doing civil project management, and am a geotechnical engineer. I've seen some amazing duck-ups. But building a commercial building over the property line? Nope. This level of craft expertise impresses me. So your driveway was torn out and replaced with new concrete? I'm having trouble understanding this. OP replied. They poured the foundation of their new building into our driveway. Wait, let me get this straight. These chuckle ducks went onto someone else's property, destroyed a permanent driveway, and tried to build a ducking building on it? What in the actual duck was going through their pea-sized brains?